22 top 40 hits spanning, dare I say, 3 decades?
Stop it.
The iconic Terri Clark. Oh my goodness, it is such an honor to have you on the show this afternoon. Terri, thank you so much for joining me here. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you talking to me today, Shannon. I'm excited to be on the show.
So you got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff that's been going on for many, many years. A little story here. I don't know if you, well, you probably don't know this because we've never spoken before. But I, as a little kid, I grew up and I always wanted to be in radio. I always wanted to be in country radio. That's what I wanted to be in. And I remember, whenever I was in, when I was in high school, this is how it's going to take me back a few days. But when I was in high school, your songs were just really starting to really chart, in the 90s. And oh my gosh, I got to tell you something that, I really, really just looked up to you from that day. I was like, oh my gosh, this woman has got it. I love it. So to have you on the call today is definitely a bucket list for me.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you grew up listening to me, and now we finally get to talk.
I know, it's awesome. It's awesome how this all comes about, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So from being from Alberta, Canada, that's obviously not the country metropolis of the world, right? How did you?
Well, it's not, but you'll see more cowboy hats and pickup trucks in Alberta than you were just about anywhere else.
Really? Wow. Interesting. Okay. I did not know that. So what inspired you to become a country music artist then?
Well, the first time I saw Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell sisters on TV, I was pretty riveted, and I had already started playing guitar. My mother taught me my first 3 chords when I was about 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always steal her guitar and take it to my bedroom, and every time she would be looking for it, she couldn't find it because I had it. So she got me my own guitar when I was 11 for Christmas. And the Barbara Mandrell show showed up a couple of years later. And I had a very musical family. My mom's parents played music for a living in clubs around Montreal, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all when my mom was a kid, and they supported 5 kids doing that. So I grew up around it as well. And then after I did the deep dive into the whole country music scene of the early 80s, I really got into Reba, the really early Reba stuff.
Oh, yeah. Great stuff.
She was still Reba McEntire. And then the Judds came out along not too long after that. So I loved the music of the Judds. I loved their sound. I loved that Appalachian twist that they had on everything that they were doing.
Yeah, and that raspiness, right? I love that.
Absolutely. My mom and I were very, very close. So not only did I love their music and relate to the music, I related to them personally because they were a mother-daughter duo.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and I used to sit around singing together.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I just became obsessed with early to mid to late 80s country. And by the time I moved to Nashville in 1987, I had quite a library of songs that I knew to play when I was at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge playing for tips.
Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. So that breakthrough moment, right? When did you know you truly made it, right? Because we're talking, late 80s or so, you moved to Nashville, you're
Mm-hmm.
playing Tootsie's, you're playing all these different places down on Broadway, I'm assuming. And so what was that moment that you went, you know what? I've made it. I'm here, right?
Oh, gosh. It was 8 years after I moved to Nashville. So it took a long time to get a record deal. And a lot happened between moving to Nashville and getting the record deal. But I think I realized that I had my big break when I heard Better Things to Do on the radio.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But even if you have your first hit, maintaining that and actually building a career is the hard part.
Right. Yeah, it is. And that's the challenge. One of the things that we do here, we obviously play kickbacks, right? We call kickbacks, which are basically, 90s and early 2000s songs. But we also play new up and coming artists, right? Stuff that would not normally get played on regular radio. We're giving them a national voice. And I'll tell you right now, I cannot tell you how many artists that are brand new, that are fantastic, playing down on Broadway, putting in their dues, that literally, will go on their social media and be in tears because we're playing their song, right? And it's
Oh,
just a
wow.
great feeling. It's just a great feeling to see them, going, wow, hey, I'm finally being heard across the whole nation, right?
That's amazing. And that's what I love about social media. There's plenty I hate about it, but I think that is so gratifying for you guys to be able to have a way to know that these new artists are hearing their song on the radio. Like, we didn't have social media in the 80s and 90s. We didn't
Right.
know anything really. The internet was kind of a new thing.
Right, exactly. And the one thing, like I said, I mean, I've been in terrestrial radio my entire life, but I started this digital station, and the reason that I started it was because I was tired of corporate radio. I'll be honest with you, I was tired of just the top 40 songs getting played over and over and over, right? And
Right.
and I said, you know what? Look, I can program my own station, and we can have a nationwide station. And this thing is blowing up. I mean, it's insane. I did an interview not long ago with Brian White. You probably know him.
I know him very well.
John Rich, right? So
Mhm.
we're doing a lot of stuff. Just got approved for Sarah Evans and Brooks and Dunn, so some big ones there. Obviously we're doing some pretty major things, and it's because we're breaking the mold of what traditional radio has always been. It's like, if you don't have a top 40, exactly what you said a minute ago, if you don't have the top 40 hit and maintain the top 40 hits, country radio doesn't play them anymore.
Oh, pretty much. Yeah, that's the way it is. And that goes for new artists. It goes for old artists who don't have the hits anymore.
Yeah,
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, and a lot of artists have been around since the 90s and are still having radio success, but I can count them on two fingers.
exactly.
So that's very, very rare.
Exactly. My good friend Chad Brock. I don't know if you know him or not, but
Yep.
Chad's a real good friend of mine, and we talk about this stuff all the time. And he's like, man, I remember when I was all over the charts. He's like, and now it's a totally different story, right? so
Yeah.
so
Well,
I
most
totally
artists have an expiration date. Like I said, it's very, very rare that a Tim McGraw is going to come along.
right.
His shelf life has outlasted just about anybody's that I know as far as radio goes, and deservedly so.
Oh,
The guy
absolutely.
is a professional A&R guy. He knows how to pick songs like nobody's business.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So speaking of songs, what is your favorite song from your collection? I mean, I know you've had 22 top 40 hits, 10 of those being top 10 hits, right? I believe. Are my numbers off? Or are they correct?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay, so I've
What's
done a
in a
little bit more
number?
digging on it than you have then. So
Oh
out of
my
that, what's
goodness.
your favorite song though? Do you have a favorite song out of all the hits that you've had?
I don't know that as far as the Take Two album goes, if that's what we're talking about.
Hmm.
As far as the arrangements and the new tracks, new takes on these old songs, I really love the Cody Johnson. I Just Want to Be Mad. I think
Ah,
it's really fresh sounding. It's very, very unique and different. It sounds like a conversation. And for years, I've been singing that song from a woman's perspective of, hey, dude, don't touch me. I don't want anything to do with you right now. I have the right to be angry. And I've kind of been just on one side of that fence of that conversation. And then Cody and I went in and turned it into a back and forth conversation. And he's mad too. We're both mad at each other.
that's awesome. So what was it like working with Kojo?
Oh, he's amazing. I got to tell you, that guy is a singing mofo.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of reminds me of a modern day George Strait, for lack of better words, right?
Yeah, I mean, his lifestyle is George Strait. His song sense is Tim McGraw. His voice is like, I would put him up there with almost a Chris Stapleton type of singer. He's really, really great. His pitch was great. His delivery, his harmonies were great. His vocal licks, like, we could have taken the first take and used that. He wouldn't have had to sing it again. So yeah, no, I can't say enough about him. And as a person, he's got such a vibrant, bubbly, light energy. Like, he's just full of light. He bounds into a room. He's like Tigger.
He is definitely
Uh,
one that I have on the bucket list to meet. I have never met Kojo. That's on my
you
bucket
won't be
list.
disappointed.
I love it. I love it. Now, what about Lainey? You did a duet with her as well on Take Two, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I could say the same for her. And I knew I liked her the minute she pulled up to the studio without an entourage, without a manager, without one single person by her side, no camera person, nothing. She pulled up in a ginormous pickup truck that she could barely park in the spot out front. So we had to direct her into a spot so her bed of her truck wasn't sticking out into the middle of the street.
I love it.
And she came in and I gave her a vintage Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me t-shirt that my mom had saved in a bin from when the song came out. And she was just so sweet and humble. And I was with her the other night. She has not changed a bit in the last year and a half, because that's when she did her vocal for this. It was a year and a half ago.
Wow.
So she hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, and I love her. I mean, I think she is. I think she and Kojo are really the true, real deals in country music as far as new artists go right now. I personally, that's at least my two favorite. Yeah,
I mean, I'd say Lainey, Ashley McBryde, and Cody Johnson are my top three. There is not another songwriter out there like Ashley McBryde. She is up there, way up there with some of the greatest songwriters, and I think she's going to wind up in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame someday.
Oh, absolutely. I don't doubt that one bit. Not at all. Not at all. So what advice would you have to aspiring country artists that are coming up?
Oh gosh, how would I aspire people? Well, aspiring young artists should always surround themselves with people who believe in them and are truthful with them. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to find somebody who not only believes in your talent, but also isn't afraid to say no and tell you the truth, because you've got to have that discerning ear and eye and heart. If you're working too hard, you got to have somebody that's going to say, we need to give you some time off.
Exactly.
Or you're going to burn out. I know we're all making money from you, but stop for a minute.
Exactly. Just
this
honesty,
song sucks. Right? Do not record it.
Yeah, just being honest with people. Yeah, just being honest with people. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So obviously you were a pioneer with the women in country music, obviously. What's your take on, women in country radio today? We talked a little bit about Lainey. We talked a little bit about Ashley. But as far as just women in general in country music, how do you think that's evolved, so to speak, from whenever you were in your, in the 90s when, everything was, just the wild, wild west, so to speak?
Well, it was, and there was a lot more space and slots on the charts for women back then. And I don't know why it's changed so much. It's gotten a little bit better, but it's still not what it was in the 90s for women. It was much more of an even split between male to female airplay. And now it's still 70-30 at best.
Yeah, it's a little strange to me, but it is.
But, I think some of it has to do with a lot of the who's going viral on TikTok, and they're getting record deals now, and there's just a lot more going on. There are a lot more factors that are playing into it now. Nobody's buying actual hard copy CDs and albums anymore. They're streaming and downloading things. The whole business model has changed. As far as it has to do with women, I think that there are some extremely talented women out there. I think they're making some of the best music there is, and that country music has to offer. They just need a chance to be heard.
Right.
And when they are given a chance to be heard, look what happens. Look at Lainey, look at Ashley, look at Carly. There are some really strong females coming on the scene now. And I know of a couple more that are bubbling up and haven't even put albums out yet that you're going to hear of in the next year or two that are going to do really great. So I think it's shifting. It hasn't shifted completely back to what it was, but it's looking up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what about future projects? Going to be doing any touring with this new album? What's that look like?
I'm on the road all summer long, doing a lot of shows through the fall. I have the CMA Stadium show this Saturday night.
Very nice.
And again, a lot of shows. I'm playing the Ryman Auditorium for the first time. I'm headlining August 29th.
Very cool. Very cool.
So that's exciting. And shows through the fall and winter. And then I think things will slow down a little bit in January, but this is definitely a heavy workload year for me, and I'm happy to have it.
I love it. I love it. Well, here's what we're going to be doing. We're actually going to play your new album, Take Two, in its entirety. Okay. Oh. Yeah. So we're going to play the whole thing in its entirety, and we'll have this interview along with that. Does that sound good to you?
I am thrilled. Thank you so much for doing that.
You are so very welcome. We just appreciate you so much. So, last question here. What is the best way for people to be able to get in touch with you? I would assume social media, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Terri Clark Music on Instagram. I also have a Terri Clark official Facebook page. And please, people, know that if you see a check mark that looks like a screenshot, it's not the right one. Just make sure you're looking at the right Facebook page and don't fall for scammers. There are way too many of them out there. It's really awful.
It's insane how many people are mocking these artists. I mean, I can't tell you how many fake artists I get.
Awful.
People are sending me friend requests, and I'm like, you realize they're a friend of mine. I have their phone number in my phone, right?
Right, exactly. And no artist will ever ask you to send them money, to help them with, or give a credit card or personal information, or help, or they're posing as your manager and saying, don't ever believe any of that.
Exactly.
No
Say that one louder for the back. Say that one louder for the people in the back. I love that.
Right, exactly. So yeah, and Twitter or X or whatever it is now is also Terri Clark Music. So
okay.
And I've got a TikTok page.